And the main event, we've got Ryan Darth Bader taking on Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. The rematch nobody really asked for. They fought before at UFC 119. Ryan Bader came away with the decision victory there. Bader, like always, really wants to probably utilize his wrestling, get into full guard, and he's pretty much fine there, at least what we saw 5 years or so back. He was fine when he was there. He was landing big shots from that position. It's on the feet that he should be more worried. But Ryan Bader has improved quite a bit on the feet since the last time that these two guys fought against each other. So I think this is a really, really tough spot for Nogueira. Nogueira's, at least at this point in his career, he usually utilizes his hands to get the job done, like he did against Patrick Cummins. Patrick Cummins is kind of like a lower level Ryan Bader, with much less striking defense and much less striking acumen at this point in his career.
He's more athletic and faster, but his ability to take a punch is not there.
Exactly, and that's where Antonio Rogerio Nogueira completely dusted him, finished him at the end of the first round. Nice little dog money for me and you. We saw that one coming. It was a great moment for him. UFC 198, you're 40 years old. It's like
back at home.
I'm never one to tell somebody to retire, but that just seemed like almost the perfect moment for him to call it quits. I think Bader beats him again here, and I think it's going to be very, very similar. Maybe it's a 5-round fight, so Bader, I think, maybe eventually round 4, round 5, wears down the older man, gets TKO here. Minus 350, I don't really like that, but the by TKO I see as a possibility in the later rounds, and that's plus 105. But Bader is a decision machine. He may just continue to take him down, never really get that opening, never really get the opportunity to get the TKO finish over Nogueira, and it could be a decision too. So taking that TKO prop is risky. That's just the way I see it playing out, and minus 350, you can parlay it up with other things, but if you're more of a straight line kind of guy, I think the TKO prop at plus 105 is probably the bet that I would go with.
It's a tough one. Even in the last fight for Ryan Bader against Latifi, it's like, he's not going to knock him out. And he's trying to throw a lazy kick, and Latifi dips into it, and the knee hits him right in the face and knocks him out. Yeah. So on one hand, it's like, man, spectacular knockout. Like Latifi was all the way out. That was beautiful. On the other hand, as you mentioned, he's more of a decision kind of guy. He wants to go out there, use his wrestling, get you down, and grind you. I feel like in many ways we've already seen this fight because, we already saw this fight. But also, when you look at that fight with the first time around, Ryan Bader was still the developing, very athletic power wrestler, right? He could get you to the ground, but he had to hold you there because he didn't have submissions, he didn't have great ground and pound. The reason why he wasn't standing with guys was because he didn't really have much standing. So when you give him a BJJ black belt, logic would dictate he's going to stand with him because he doesn't want to take this guy down and be in his guard, but he knew he couldn't stand with him. He knew Nogueira had good boxing skills, so he took him down. And even as this young, raw guy who's still developing, he could take down a highly regarded BJJ black belt and stay out of submissions and stay on top of this guy for the majority of the fight. Now I look at 5 years later and I think, okay, well, where these guys have progressed? Ryan Bader's progressed everywhere. He's a better wrestler than he was 5 years ago. He's got better conditioning than he did 5 years ago. I mean, going 5 rounds with OSP. He's a better striker than he's ever been.
People may look at the Anthony Johnson fight and be like, oh, well, he was just diving in desperate. It's just like, if I put anybody, even a whole bunch of UFC heavyweights inside of a cage with Anthony Rumble Johnson, nobody wants to take that heat because that guy can put you away in a matter of seconds.
Hey, listen,
and I think
I saw little Nogueira try to fight Anthony Johnson one time too. It didn't really go good for him. Anthony Johnson's an anomaly, right? We'll take that off the table. But with Ryan Bader, when I think to myself, okay, since UFC 119, the guy's just made a lot of improvements all over the place. With Nogueira, he hasn't made any improvements, and a lot of that's because of his age. He's 40 years old now. So when you think about the last time they fought, he was still 35 years old. His boxing is good, and it's very serviceable. Pan American bronze medalist, a guy that we've seen that Pat Cummins fight. If he gets his hands going, he can hurt you. But for the most part, I mean, he's stiff and he's robotic. His ground game, I mean, Robin Black actually had the greatest breakdown, and I think he was talking about the rematch between Shogun and Nogueira, and he broke down parts from the original fight with Shogun and Nogueira. And Nogueira's a BJJ black belt. He's a very decorated BJJ black belt, especially at that time. And he does things like wrist control, like double wrist control, and like trying to get a hold of your arm instead of trying to get underhooks and overhooks. And it just shows you the game's changed so much. Now, undoubtedly, this guy's changed with the game, but his ground game hasn't gotten any better. And his conditioning, because he's gotten older, hasn't gotten any better. His punching hasn't gotten any better. He's essentially just that same guy. And when I saw him in the rematch with Shogun, they both looked shot. It looked like two guys who were just all the way shot. It was actually kind of sad to see. Now, I would agree with you. I'd like to see Nogueira call it quits on a happy note. And that was not a very happy note. He didn't look that bad in that fight, but it was not nearly what the first fight was, let me tell you. But now you get this fight with Pat Cummins, and you beat Pat Cummins, and you had a great point before we even started the show. We want to see him end on a high note, and that was a high note. But it's so hard to tell this guy who just knocked out another highly rated contender, you're done. So he's back here. And unfortunately, you draw, similar to this Uriah Hall and Gegard Mousasi thing, right? You should have we didn't need to see the rematch. But unfortunately, now we're getting it, and it's a 5-rounder, and it favors one guy a lot more because one guy's headed up, and one guy's headed down. I know that Nogueira's coming off a win, but there's no doubting that his twin brother has already retired, not because he wanted to, because his body was physically like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. Don't you assume this guy, his twin brother, his body's probably... Now, he's
fighting at 205 and not the heavyweight division, where heavyweight division, the 260-pound boys, the guys seem to at least stick around longer. Whether they can last longer is a different
So Bader hasn't looking great in the last little while. But one thing I want to note here is that if you're Nogueira, you're just fighting for fun at this point. You're fighting because they're Brazilian cards, and they're putting him on specifically Brazilian cards and saying, hey, listen, fans will come still see you. This is great, no problem. But at the end of the day, he's not going to challenge for a title anytime soon, and he knows that. If you're Bader can conceivably challenge for a light heavyweight title. And the reason I say that, people will be laughing. There's
nobody in the division right now, man.
205 is the worst division possible. Yep. The number 5 ranked guy was OSP. So OSP just gets knocked off. Now you got what? Jimmy Manuwa and Jan Blachowicz.
And the best guy in the world is on suspension until July.
Yeah. Now, once Cormier and Johnson fight each other, well, guess what? Cormier and Johnson are not going to fight again. Now, if Johnson wins, he's kind of screwed because no one's going to put him back in there with Johnson. But if Cormier wins, just because it's a new matchup and they've kind of talked some smack in the past.
Bader could be in the mix there.
Bader's in the mix, so Bader needs a big win here. He's getting a headlining fight. He's getting 5 rounds, and it's a favorable matchup for him. I expect him to look good. I expect him to get the win.